Rynell Nolan, President, CEO, Health Agents for America, coming to you live this Tuesday instead of Monday. I wanted to have a little bit more of an opportunity to read the Budget Bill Deficit Act, including some of the other pieces and parts that touch our lives before I came to you live. Of course, I've been angry for about a week, then not angry, then angry again. But a couple of things I wanted to share with you before I talk about the transparency piece is that I was on a Zoom call yesterday, and I'm going to be glancing at my notes that I post on Facebook. So if you follow me on Facebook, I've already put these on. The budget bill, HR 133, was sent over by the president, and when it came back, they included the Deficit Act, including the balance billing and the transparency and things I haven't even had a chance to read. I've never read a budget bill before, but because it did include pieces of parts that affected us, I figured it was a good idea for me to read it. After about 300 pages, my eyes kind of crossed, but I'm still going to keep reading. I decided today to just skip over to the parts that affect us right now. The other thing is, let's see. I want to talk a little bit about the COVID funding. Last night, the House approved the bill to increase COVID funding from $600 to $2,000. However, I'm not sure whether it's going to be heard in the Senate because there was not very many Republicans that voted for it. And with Republicans having the majority in the Senate, I'm not sure that that's going to even be heard. So that might not happen at all. There was $300 billion that were allocated to small business. So for another round of PPP, but you must provide that you were subject to a loss. So you might not be eligible for a second round of PPP. $908 billion was allocated. However, $600 billion were already in the pot that was already allocated, just not used yet. For those that have any clients that have a 501c6 that lost income, they're now going to be eligible for a PPP. The $600 subsidy payment is supposed to be released by Wednesday or Thursday or within 10 days, since they already know how to do it and how to send it by direct deposit. If you made less than $75,000 per individual or $150 per family, that would be $600 per person per child. There is money in the COVID funding for universities, primary, secondary, private, and parochial, you know what I mean, schools that will be eligible. There's money in the COVID for vaccines and testing. 501c4s are not eligible for assistance. There's something called SOS, Save Our Stages. There's money, grant assistance for live entertainment venues. Rural broadband assistance is included in this bill. So if that's something that you have a client that you can help with, there's money for that. There was $15 billion for Save Our Arts. Additional $300 per week for enhanced unemployment. And for those with restaurants, you have clients with the restaurants, the loss requirement, 2.5% of payroll is going to be increased to 3.5% of payroll to give them a little bit, hopefully more help to keep their doors open. So that's a little bit about the COVID package. Now to get into what I'm going to call, you were doing open enrollment, you were enrolling Medicare, you were completing fourth quarter, you were locked down in COVID, you lost family members, you lost clients, you have people who were sick or dying, and I was in lockdown and not allowed to go to Washington, and we were sucker punched. I'm just going to say it. We were sucker punched. The bill that we've talked about, this legislation that we talked about several years ago with U.S. Senator Alexander from Tennessee, that he wanted agents and brokers to be more transparent about the, steak dinners and the trips and the things that we get. And HAFA was in Washington and talked to their staff about, this is ridiculous. We make less money than we ever did. And I'm not sure why you would want this to be your legacy piece. I'm not sure what agents and brokers did to the senator. Why he felt that it was important to do this, I have no idea. But while we were doing all the good that you were doing, this was put in legislation. Now, I'm going to tell you that it is in the 5,593 pages. It starts at page, I believe, 4,475, section 202. So it's section 202 for those that want to read this. And I'm going to encourage you to read this because I'm going to gloss over it. But what I'm going to say is that we need to have attorneys look at this. I'd like to hear input from insurance companies. There's going to be input, I'm sure, from State Department of Insurance. It's going to take us a while to digest this and to totally understand it. But basically, Section 202 says disclosure of direct and indirect compensation for brokers, consultants, to employer-sponsored health plans and enrollees in plans in the individual market. So it's all of it, everything we do. It says Group Health Plan Section 408B2 of ERISA Act 1974. So it appears it applies to your self-funded plans. Now, what I'm going to stop right here and say that at first I was so angry that you would put something so important into federal legislation that's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. But on the second wave of thought, I thought it's about time they saw how much we made and maybe they'll leave us alone. My third thought was, if it's Senator Alexander's legacy piece and he's on the way out, he'll never see this. But maybe it will stop some of those in Washington who think that we're making tons of money and screwing people over, obviously, receiving commissions, steak dinners, Caribbean cruises that are really umbrellas, that are indirect compensation. But maybe they will finally see, and maybe they'll open their eyes. Now, what's important to know about this, too, is you have Senator Alexander, who's a Republican. You have Democratic senators that brought up the short-term medical report recently that said that we were bad eggs. That was Democrat. So don't think that this is a Republican or a Democratic thing. This was a bipartisan bill and signed by the president. This wasn't just Democrats against agents, Republicans against agents, and maybe there are some that didn't even read it. But it affects us. It affects so many voting Americans that it's not even funny. And I'm going to say that the majority of you already do this. Now, where the rubber hits the road is, how do we do this efficiently, effectively, without putting us out of business and, report what we already do? So I'm going to say you already do the majority of the stuff that I read. A covered plan means a group health plan. What's important to note is there's this language that says reasonably expects. Not that you do. You reasonably expect to have received at least $1,000 or an amount that the secretary, and we know the ACA secretary is the most common word, the secretary establishes, which she may change due to inflation after Of course, this act has been enacted because it's been signed, it's been done. So regardless of whether services will be performed, regardless of whether the services will be performed or such compensation received by the covered service provider, an affiliate or subcontractor must report indirect and direct compensation. That's what we're going to have to figure out. We're working on a case. We could get the case. If we get the case, we may get paid commission. Do we report on every proposal we put out? We're going to need somebody with a bigger brain than Ronell Nolan to review this. But no, it includes all insurance products, including dental and vision, record-keeping services, medical management, benefit administration, stop-loss insurance, PBMs, wellness, transparency tools, preferred vendor panels, group purchasing organizations, disease management, compliance services, employee assistant programs, and TPAs. It includes consultants, and it has a definition for consultants. Same thing. Are you going to reasonably expect to receive at least $1,000 on blah, blah, blah? There's the definition of affiliate. Important. What is the term of compensation? Any monetary value, but does not include non-monetary valued at $250 or such an amount that the secretary may establish in regulations to account for inflation. The term direct compensation means compensation received directly from a covered plan. The term indirect compensation means compensation from any source other than the covered plan. Compensation received from a subcontractor is indirect compensation. Compensation may be expressed, and this is talking about how do you report it. It could be expressed in a monetary formula, per capita charge per enrollee. If the compensation or cost may be cannot be reasonably expressed in such terms or by any other method, including disclosure, that additional compensation may be earned but not calculated at the time of the contract. It's a bit complicated. I still think that many of you, all of you that I know, are disclosing every bit of your compensation except for the umbrella to your client. Now, for those that are, and I don't think anything that's wrong with this, there are some agents that make a lot of money for insurance companies, and there are bonus programs where you might win something. Well, every profession has that. I don't see that included in this budget bill, but it is directed to agents and brokers. So yes, there are a few, I would say less than 1%, I'm going to guess, do receive some type of bonus, maybe, program, you won something. The majority of us are going, maybe pre-COVID, to a, breakfast that you received an umbrella or you received a pin, but the majority of you did not. So you're going to have to disclose to your provider in writing a description of your services, which I think you already do, a description of all direct compensation, which I think you already do, but you're going to add a description of all indirect compensation, and how that's going to be derived is going to be a mystery today. Hopefully, we'll figure that out. But compensation includes money from a vendor to a brokerage firm based on structure of incentive not solely related to the contract with the covered plan, not including compensation received by an employee from an employer on account of work performed by the employee. A description of the arrangement between the payor and the covered provider, identification of the services, identification of the payer, and a description of any compensation that will be paid by any body. We're just going to say that. Commissions, finder's fees, any other incentive must be included. I'm going to say this goes on and on and on. A covered service provider shall disclose any change to the information. So, excuse me, should your commission change? We all know that commissions normally, especially in group contracts, do not change mid-year. And if Congress did any of their homework, they would know that. A contract is for a 12-month period in most situations, unless it is otherwise stated in the contract, and therefore there would be a new contract with new commissions that would be outlined. But if you have any changes, you must disclose within 60 days. Now, if you didn't disclose, you're a bad egg, and I don't know you, but your employer asked in writing that they want to know what your commissions are, you must disclose those to them. And I can't imagine any of you that don't, because I promise you, if you don't, your competition does. And what Congress doesn't know is we compete against each other. And what we do is we compete against each other, which means that we are total transparent. We are transparent about our services, and we are transparent about our commissions, because the rates are the rates, and we're trying to win that client, and we're trying to show them what we can provide for our services and what we are being paid and what isn't being included as a commission. So on a few more pages, if you fail to comply to the written, and this makes me chuckle a little bit. If you fail to comply within 90 days, they can terminate your contract. Well, hallelujah. Welcome to our world, Congress. They can terminate our contract anytime they want. So regardless, if we didn't do it on the front end and they didn't ask us, they can always cancel their contract and go with someone else. So that's not anything new to agents and brokers or our industry. Now, they go into full detail about what you need to respond to should they ask for that information. The name of the covered plan, the plan number, the plan sponsor, blah, 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 the telephone number, on and on and on. So let's see. Nothing in the subparagraph should supersede any provision of state law. So I'm not sure if any of you have any state law that are in place, but if you do, I would love to hear about it. And then I'd like to know from an attorney, if we pass state law going forward, does this craziness go away? I don't know. I would like to know. And I'm going to ask as a favor, and this is a huge favor, I know, but there are some of you that have big operations, and some of you that have attorneys on staff. If you have attorneys on staff and they have a chance to dissect this and give you some instructions, if you would share it with HAFA and allow us to share it with some of our members, I would sincerely appreciate it. You all know paying $18 a month with this congressional membership doesn't allow for us to pay for attorneys, doesn't allow for us to have DC lobbyists. I do the best I can, and I'd also be interested in some of what the other agent associations have done and are going to do with this piece of legislation. Now, we go to the individual market. Don't think they're leaving the individual market off. But what they say is, if a health insurer offers individual health insurance, offering short-term duration insurance. Now, some of you think I'm crazy, and a lot of you think I'm crazy, but you'll remember when I told you about that report, and when the Democrats asked for that report, and there was 8 bad eggs, I told you something bad was coming. Here it is. I told you. They took 31 people, 8 bad people directed people from an individual plan to a short-term plan, and the rest of us, thousands and thousands of agents, got this. Now, it is directed to the insurance carriers, but it says, if you're offering short-term medical, you shall make the disclosure to the enrollee. So they're going to make disclosures to our clients regarding direct and indirect compensation. Now, they might be the best to be able to describe what that looks like, especially indirect compensation. A health insurer shall disclose to an enrollee the amount of direct or indirect compensation provided by the agent or broker. It has to be made prior to the individual finalizing their selection. So before you can enroll it, it has to be disclosed by the insurance company to the enrollee for them to say, I understand my agent is being paid a commission, they got an umbrella, and that's the plan that I want. They have to do this annually to the secretary prior to the beginning of open enrollment. Okay. I guess they have to say they're going to be paid X amount of commissions. We gave them 10 umbrellas, and then going forward. So rulemaking no later than a year after the date of the enactment of this law, the secretary shall finalize all the rulemaking, timing, forms, manners. So of course, we have a ways to go of learning more and more about this. Like I said, this is a lot. This is a lot. I'm going to show you this is a lot. It's not 5,593 pages, but it's a lot. I didn't go into the part about balance billing, not enough time. I think this is pretty important to our industry. There's other parts and pieces. I'm going to continue to read that and report. But know that as soon as we're allowed to travel, HAFA needs to get to the Hill. We need to start meeting with Democrats and Republicans and start back over from ground zero and let them know what we do, how much we're paid, and that some of this is just ridiculous. Why are we the bad people? We are the solution, not the problem. We're the ones that are working 24/7 during open enrollments for our group clients to make sure they get the best plan that they can at the most reasonable prices. We're the ones that's doing that, not the navigators that they've already decided get paid thousands of dollars per policy, and they still keep giving them money. We get paid on average about $10 per individual. And then on group policies, some insurance companies pay $0. Wait till you see that, Congress. I can't wait. I can't wait till you see some of the zeros on those reports. You could probably tell I'm a little fired up. I'm a lot of fired up. I'm tired of being locked down. I'm tired of being in this house. I'm tired of being, only talking to Faith. I'm tired of not being able to get to Congress. I'm tired of things being passed without us knowing about it. I'm just tired of it. I continue to fight for our industry, and I refuse to give up. I'm not giving up. This is ridiculous. Our clients and consumers need us more than they ever have. Soon as this opens up, we're going to be up there in Congress. And anybody that wants to go with me, you are more than welcome, because the more the merrier. We need to hit them and hit them hard 2021. Welcome to our world. Meet a real agent. Meet us. Find out what we do. Find out how much we make. You don't want to talk about how much we make because a lot of times it's not very much. Shame on you. Ronell Nolan, President, CEO, Health Agents of America, so proud and honored to represent the HAFA freedom fighters. Until next Monday, I'll have more to report. Please email me if you have any questions. If I know, I will find out I will tell you. If I don't know, I'll find out for you. Happy New Year, 2021. Please be better to me than 2020.